It's about the confidence that people get back. And with confidence, women are better to take a chance, to set a higher goal, to step out of their comfort zone. And then, of course, everybody around them benefits.
This is the Aesthetics Growth Podcast.
Hey everyone, it's Brett back again with another episode of the Aesthetics Growth Podcast. And today I'm really excited to have a special guest on the show. We've got Karen Tayes, the founder of Elysian MedSpa in Panama City, Florida, up in, as they say, the panhandle here. And Karen's journey is awesome. I can't wait to get to know you even more. I know we met at an event, but from getting to know more of you digitally, and what I'm super excited to dig a little deeper into on the show today is the fact that you're a board certified nurse, certified emergency nurse, and also a critical care flight nurse as well. I know you've got decades of experience to bring to the table, and talk about calm under pressure with all those levels of experience. It's going to be an absolute honor for our audience to get to know more about you today. So welcome to the show, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. No, this is going to be great. And Karen, for anybody who wasn't at MedSpa Militia, for example, who doesn't know about you, could you give us a little introduction as to who you are, a little bit about your business, and also how you got started that journey within aesthetics?
Yeah, it's a long, crazy story. But yeah, so I'm Karen Tayes. I am a native here in Panama City Beach, Florida, which most people on this side of the United States has probably been here, whether it be for spring break or with their families.
Spring
Maybe
break.
they don't remember their trip. Maybe they have a tattoo from their trip. But yeah, we do have the claim to fame of the world's most beautiful beaches. And so I got my medical start as an EMT, and I was 21 years old, and I set my heart and soul on being a flight nurse at that time, and went on to be a paramedic. I was a paramedic here during spring break craziness in the 1990s, and then I decided to go on to nursing school, and of course went straight to the ER because that was, my passion. And it was hard to give up the trucks, but I knew that working 24-hour shifts and spring break was going to burn me out sooner than later. So after I finished up with nursing and did a few years in the ER, I finally was able to land my dream job as a flight nurse with Sacred Heart Hospital, which is located over in Pensacola, Florida, which was where we met. And we were spread out over the panhandle to be able to bring, critical patients to Pensacola, where the level 2 at the time trauma center was. Now it's just a level 1. And so I was a flight nurse for 20 years and instructor for not only the panhandle, but for the state of Florida for a while. For flight programs. And then I traveled all over the United States with Air Methods, which is the largest helicopter service in the United States, as an educator. And then finally, after 20 years of working 24s and, being up all night, I loved critical care. I loved teaching the paramedics and then the flight teams, but it takes a toll on you after a while. And I knew that I needed to do something for my mental health, to do something more fun and make a career change. So I started into nurse practitioner school and always had a interest in aesthetics. But of course, during COVID, I was like everybody else. It kind of piqued my interest even more. So I went from working as a nurse practitioner at the jail to being in aesthetics. So
Wow.
I took a class. Yeah. So during, the whole COVID thing, like really nowhere was hiring, and I just finished nurse practitioner school. So I was like, well, I'll get a part-time job. I'll still fly, because I really only flew like 9 days out of the month. So it really wasn't that bad. And, so the only place that was hiring was the Bay County Jail. So I was like, great place to start. So I ended up taking a course out in Arizona, because I feel like Arizona was a lot like us in Florida, and we're still open a little bit. We were like, oh, COVID, whatever. COVID's COVID, we're still like having life. So I flew out there in 2020 and took a course. It was a 3-day course It was really good because they focused a lot on the business side. So I loved that and, learned how to inject Botox and all that. And so I came back and I didn't practice Botox on the inmates, but let's just say I did take, a chance to pretty them up as much as I could. So I always teased the warden that we had like the best looking inmates across the panhandle.
That's fantastic. I was going to say, yeah, there must have been beautiful jailbirds there, but that's such an incredible experience. Go on. I know that we could do multiple episodes on this, but keep going. This is like such interesting kind of like runway to where you are today.
Yeah. So I started a little practice with my dentist who I taught their class. I always taught their CPR class and ACLS class. He was real geek and into all the things. So he was like the only dentist office that actually taught ACLS. So I taught a lot of the doctor's offices around here, ACLS and CPR. So he let me start. He had a little med spa next door, and he let me start doing weight loss and a little Botox in there. And then I was able to get on with a plastic surgeon's office in town and really expand my wings. And, the great thing about living in the Panhandle, the world's most beautiful beaches, and right here next to 30A is that everybody wants to come down here and teach or instruct and then bring their family and spend a week at the beach. So we had the opportunity to train with people from all over the United States right here. Our reps are amazing and got me that opportunity to really hone in on what I was doing. And I just loved it. And so I ended up retiring from flying. January was a year ago. I did stay part time. And
Right.
the last probably 6 years, I flew for the University of Florida. So, Shands Care. So I was pretty proud about that because that's one of the oldest flight programs in Florida. And decided to open my own med spa coming up on 2 years ago.
Congrats. When's the anniversary going to be, Karen?
It will be November 1st.
That's fantastic and absolutely amazing. Wow, thanks for sharing that. I mean, so many so many accomplishments there, so much growth on that runway, if you will. Pardon the pun
Yeah.
with the flying and everything, right? But
Yes.
what would you say? We're going to get into a lot in the show today. I know that you've your experience. It hasn't all been easy. There's been a lot of perseverance, and you have to have targets. But what would you say have been some of the scariest moments through that? When you talk about, the flying nursing, obviously some situations there. Growing a business isn't for the lighthearted either. What would you say are some of those, scariest moments that you've experienced, or, things that have, kind of caused you to sort of stand back a little bit through your career?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I know. When I think back at being 21 and somebody giving me the keys to an ambulance to drive through town, as fast as I want with lights and sirens, and, giving me paralytics to intubate people, I think, oh my Lord, were they crazy? So, and then, yeah, flight, my family actually did not want me to take that flight nurse position because it is the number two most deadliest jobs because of the, crash rate. I thought about it long and hard. And actually, the day before I had my interview for that job, my mom was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and she begged me not to, take that job. But I told her, I said, you've done everything right all your life. You've dieted, you've exercised, you've been healthy, never gone to the doctor. And now we've just gotten a death sentence. So I said, you never know when your day is to come. So I would rather, die doing what I love than die with regret. So I took the job and I loved every minute of it. And my kids got a kick out of it because when we came to Panama City, I wasn't based out of Panama City, but when we'd fly, sometimes we would time it just right, not it just worked out that way that my son would be at baseball practice or something and we'd fly over, and he'd be like, oh, that's my mom.
Excellent. How much fun. That's incredible. That's such I think like such a unique journey, and there's been multiple journeys within there. Have you always been kind of like wired for that type of adrenaline, or is that something that you slowly had those, those releases through obviously the pressure within the medical situations? Would you say growing up that was, always your way?
Yeah, I guess maybe I was a little bossy because I can see that now in my daughter. So
Okay.
to kind of take charge, but yeah, you had to kind of take charge, and it was a lot sometimes showing up on an emergency. However, it wasn't my emergency, so it was so much easier to show up with me being the help. And then I have to say that the flight program is really like the best of the best. And I would say probably every flight nurse that I worked with in those 20 years, I would say probably 90% of them all went to nurse practitioner school. So we all
Right.
had really good drive because we constantly had to train. We were so educated, it was insane. Our medical directors worked with us personally. We got to train at the med school at the University of Florida. So I would say that I was always a little bit driven. And so when it came time to transition over, and I was able to work in that plastic surgeon's office. I saw some things that I thought I really like to do this a little bit better and a little bit different. And I think that was maybe because I was a female, so I had a different perspective. So that's why I went ahead and stepped out on my own and decided, oh, let's open a med spa. It'll be fun, right? But I did want to
Yeah.
create a nice space that was women would go, oh man, I feel so pampered. It's so beautiful. And, give them some relaxation and just kind of know what women want.
Well, let's dig into that a little bit, because I know that you do try and position your brand, and you're doing that with that great patient care. Kind of, how would you say that your background has really shaped the way that you do provide patient care, and the way that you have learned maybe from some of those previous roles to take care of patients, and also really grow your business because of that experience you're providing?
Yeah. Being a flight nurse, we work autonomously as an RN or a paramedic position because we have protocols that we work under our medical director, and he's told us, you can do all of these things. So we pretty much worked autonomously, just like nurse practitioners and physicians do, because we're out in the middle of the field. We can't ask for permission. So we were able to intubate, you put in A lines, chest tubes, whatever the situation called for. So I felt like for most of my career, I've worked autonomously, not really having to mother may I, to physicians. So, that was very helpful in making this next step to basically being my own boss.
Right, right. And that's interesting too, like with the kind of working autonomously, kind of like, being, out there yourself and having to be your own boss in a lot of ways and make those decisions. How has that then been as you've been growing the business and growing your team? Or has there been many surprises for you as you've gone from the kind of more, clinical side, adventure clinical side, into the business side?
Yeah, that's been definitely something interesting to, forge because as everybody always says, they don't teach you business in school when you're in some kind of med school. That's, something that you just learn as you go. And that's what I have found. That was probably the most difficult thing, was forging my way and learning how to become an entrepreneur and starting my own business. It's been definitely a different, I wish I would have done it sooner. But I've learned a lot along the way. It Nothing can prepare you for that. So I've read as many books as I could read and podcasts and as many classes as I can take. Like I am always digging because there's just nothing out there for aesthetics that's like a nice little protocol book that I'm used to, that gives me each
Mm.
step to do. So I feel like the first year was just throwing a bunch of noodles at the wall and seeing what stuck, as far as marketing goes, as far as hiring. That's been a difficult area. And then just trying to stay up on my game to offer our clients, the latest, the greatest, and the best quality, treatment they
Awesome.
can get.
Yeah, yeah, I love. I mean, I think anybody who's listening, and a lot of our audience, that are going to be, they're established, they've been there, they definitely emphasize with that, or they're going through those moments right now where, at the end of the day, you've got to take action, you've got to try things. Like you said, you kind of threw the noodles against the wall. Some of the stuff works, right? Some
Right.
doesn't, but you kind of learn what does. You double down on that. What would you say have been some of the the things that have been working best for you, or the things that you've seen work the best as you've been growing the business?
Well, it's definitely not for the wimps. You definitely have to have a lot of grit, a lot of persistence. Some days I'm exhausted, but I know I got to be there. And I will never say no to any opportunity that I get. And what I have found in my community was joining the local chambers and getting involved with all the women's groups that I could. And I run myself ragged sometimes, but honestly, I absolutely love it. And the one thing that I always tell everybody is that you will never go wrong with that interaction, that human interaction, where this new generation is more about texting. I know I had a receptionist that did not want to pick up the phone and talk to anyone. She just wanted to text everyone or email. But I'm like, people really want to talk to another person. They want that engagement. They want to learn about you. And the more relationships I built, the more people trust me. And then that's why they come, because I'm always there. I always say yes. I'm always, supporting. I always go the extra mile. So that is what I would say. Have some grit. Don't give up. And when you're tired, get an NAD shot or something and keep going.
Hey, so a quick message, then we'll get right back to the show. This episode is brought to you by ClinicGrower, my growth marketing agency that helps medical spas and aesthetic practices to scale sustainably with multi-channel marketing, with smart automation and real-world conversion strategies. Now, I know that might sound a little bit vague, and that's because growing your business isn't really a one-size-fits-all formula. Every practice is going to be different, and so should your marketing plan too. So at ClinicGrower, we offer a completely free marketing audit, a growth plan that's customized for you and for your business. This is going to include a full analysis of your current presence, your current marketing, your local competition, and also a roadmap, a growth plan designed to help you to attract more high quality patients and to increase your revenue and to grow your business. So if you want to scale with clarity and confidence, just head over to clinicgrower.com/schedule to book your free consultation. That's clinicgrower.com/schedule. Now back to the show. Yeah, well, we're going to swing back and dig more into that because I think that's obviously essential in growing a business. And also some interesting things you said there, Karen, as well, as far as getting out there, developing the relationships. I agree. I think that as we move forward in a world where there's technology and there's almost more technological barriers being introduced or imposed, artificial intelligence, those types of things, I think there's going to be more of a need, and people are going to be looking harder. In fact, I spoke to somebody the other day, a real quick story, where I called a business owner, and one of the first things he said was, "Is this a human or AI?" And I said, "No, this is actually it's a human. I'm not sure AI has my accent or will say things exactly the way I do anyway. So this is Brett McHugh here." He had a laugh, but we with that, so getting out in the community, developing those relationships. You've went to the chamber. What how do you also introduce that to your team? Do you coach them to also to get out there to develop those relationships? I'd love to understand, because as you're growing the team, they help to amplify the Karen effect, right?
I know that's the bad part, is that I'm out there trying to grow the entire team, but then when I keep meeting these people and they grow that rapport with me, then they want to only see me, which I'm happy, but I do want to grow the team. And I try to express that to my team, and there are some that try to attend all those things, and then some are in different stages of their life where they have younger children and they're not able to do that. I tell you, my kids are grown now, and so I don't know how I could do this if they were younger. I always felt bad about leaving them those 24-hour shifts. So I can't imagine doing this with young children, because everybody's set at my house are good. I can go do whatever it is I want to do and stay as late as I want. So that's been huge, burden lifted off of me, because I did put in as much time and effort into my children as I have into this business. And so yeah, I try to encourage them as well. I do try to have us go to, as a team, to a lot of the events, and at least if a couple of them will go, that makes me happy. And then I just tell them, if you're there, you're consistent, you're going to get the clients.
Yeah, well said. And also, real quick on those relationships, how about referral partners? Have you developed those types of relationships when it comes to hairdressers, any complementary businesses? How's that been when it comes to getting the business off the ground?
Yeah, absolutely. I partnered with a boutique in town called Ash and Stone, and a hair salon called Canvas. And we actually did an event this spring called the Blossom and Glow. And we actually gave away 2 complete makeovers, where we did clothes, hair, makeup, and then we did a full face injection with Botox skin pen. And it was such a fun time. We had a little fashion show. We actually did a demo live. So one person was done prior to the event, and one person was done during the event. And so, we trade out stuff. They keep my information at their places, and they get free Botox. And so, yes, definitely, partnering with other, especially women, owned businesses. And I am a part of a Emerald Coast Business Women's Association. So we all support each other. And then we have a huge fundraiser every year called Death by Chocolate. And that money goes to women over 23 years old returning to college to help pay for their tuition. So I love that. I love empowering other women, and I love partnering with other women business owners.
That's great. And it's the amplification that you've done there by collaborating with those other businesses, 1+1+1, 3, but that probably it's a compound effect where you combine everything to provide that value to people in your community so that, number one, they can have those great experiences together, but also it just makes it so much easier, right? When you're working with other business owners instead of having to just do
Yeah.
that one event yourself. So that's, I think, just great lesson for our audience here as well. Karen, I want to swing back a little bit just on, one of the big headlines with you growing your business, I think, has been that the grit, the determination, and setting those goals, that kind of unwavering belief in yourself. And it's helped you to get where you are today. If you're going to break it down just a little further, how did it look for you when you were, that's that consideration mode, right? Where it's like, I'm going to start my own business. I'm not sure how long it sounded like it wasn't very long for you. You were kind of ready to do it, but then you've got to set your goals and your targets and shoot towards them. How have you done that?
I feel like I really didn't know what I was quite getting myself into, when I took the step. I did, however, know after going to that class in Arizona, kind of what steps to take. And that was very helpful, by the way, that business portion of it to get started. But once you're in the middle of it, you realize that it was probably bigger task than you really wanted to take on, but it was too late. And I'm not going to give up, and I'm not going to stop. And I want to I always say I came into this behind the eight ball. I'm older. I've already had a career. So I felt like I had a lot of catching up to do really quick. So that's why I took every opportunity to go to every class I could and attend everything. But, the thing I learned in Arizona was if you're going to dive off into this business role, don't get crazy. Start really small and smart about how you buy things and you spend your money, and buy used equipment as far as your chairs and your tables, whatever it is you need to do. Buy only what you can afford, and don't make some of those mistakes that other spas make where they love all the shiny new toys and they want everything right when they start, so then they end up being upside down. So I poured my heart and soul in it, was there every day. Consistency, I think, is huge. So if the office hours say 9 to 5, I will be here 9 to 5. Even though there's not a client coming through the door, the phone may not be ringing. I don't care. I'm going to be here. The sign's going to be out by the road till 5 p.m. Um, and then just being really smart and just buying things as you could. So I just started a few, services with a few little tools. And then as I paid that one off, I bought more.
Smart. Which services did you open with, Karen, and which ones did you kind of add to where you are today?
So, of course, Botox is the number one, or a neurotoxin is the number one way to get people through the door. So I started with neurotoxins and filler. Weight loss was a big one, where I'd started previously. And we started with the Diamond Glow because they had the best financing. And we started with a skin pin. We added that one quickly. So I had an esthetician doing some, just general facials. And then we grew to add things like the hydrofacial peels. I added a Cyton, and then once we paid that off, we got the Silfirm X, the microneedling. So we're steady growing, and then I added another nurse practitioner who has a post-grad certificate in women's health, so that we could offer things like GYN services, like a boutique GYN service. So we can kind of encompass every need that a woman would have. We do serve men, but it's nice to offer a safe space for women to get all their needs met.
Absolutely. And any particular treatments or trends or packages that you're really loving right now when it comes to the stuff that you love to do and perhaps the outcomes that you're able to provide for patients?
Well, we love to partner the Cyton treatment for hyperpigmentation, followed by immediately with a skin pin. We get phenomenal results in the skin texture and the fine lines and wrinkles. And then, of course, we try to offer the full face evaluation to really try to eliminate what I used to do when I first got started in this, which was, oh, you want one syringe of filler? Okay, we'll do one syringe of filler, where they're just going to be disappointed. So I try to do a lot more educating. I love to do that because, I was an educator and I don't have my students anymore. So now my clients are my students. So I try to tell them why, why behind it. So I would always taught my ACLS students, like, if you know why we're doing this, then you'll remember what you're supposed to do. So I teach them why we do what treatments we do, and then recommend, even though I say, it may be out of your ballpark, but if we had an endless amount of money, this is what I would say do, and this is what you would get the satisfying results. And then what they end up doing is, if they don't have the money or they don't have the financing, they just get on this journey and we work through it together, because I get it. We all have a budget and we get the results. It may be, in a one treatment, or it may be in a year's worth of treatments, but we're willing to work with people and meet them where they're at.
I love that. I think that's so key, and it lends to your education background, but you kind of sort of distinguish between the order takers and the treatment planners there. And still, from time to time, I'll hear stories of, well, a patient came in for X amount units of Botox and then they maybe didn't come back. But I think there can be a gap there, and you described it, which is educating that patient on understanding what their journey needs to look like, what outcome they're looking for, and creating that plan to get there. And I think you really articulated that. Any particular, when it comes to patient wise, any favorite whys they've wanted to go on that journey with you, as far as reasons for the transformations that they're looking for? I always think that's so interesting.
Yeah, so I love when they have like a goal and we get to feel like we're a part of that goal. I get a lot of weddings. Today it was some reunions. So I love that. But sometimes people just want to come in and just get rejuvenated. But I love it, love it, love it when we do weddings. Sometimes we do the brides, the mothers of the bride, and then the grandmothers. And it's just so exciting for all of us to be a part of that journey and get them ready for that big day. And then when their photos come out, we're all like, we feel like it's our wedding day. So we love that stuff. So
I love that. I love that. That's cool. We talk here at ClinicGrower as well about helping people to look better, to feel better, and be better versions of themselves. And you described why people want to do that, but also I love the fact that you're basically celebrating with them as well, right? Through that connection, whether it's through social media or different channels that you have. Karen, I want to swing back real quick on one thing you mentioned a bit earlier when it comes to things that you tried as you were growing the business and throwing things against the wall. What have been today some of those things that you still lean on, some of the things that have been great, and what sort of new things or new techniques are you implementing to grow the business?
So the one thing I've tried to teach my team is that I want to offer that Disney effect. Like, I want women to come in and it to be amazing from the moment they get on the phone till the moment they leave. So I think that's a big part of what we strive to do is perfection. As I've told my team in the past, where I come from, if we don't offer perfection, people die. So I know it's not as critical as that, but it still to me is. I feel like if someone is let down or has a bad experience, it's just like they died to me. And I'm just as frustrated over losing a patient as I am, disheartening someone. So that, and then I just can't stress enough just being involved. Any charity that calls, I always offer a gift certificate. I try to partner with everybody in town. The billboards, okay. Commercials, okay. But me being at as many ribbon cuttings and formal dinners and meetings and supporting my other business owners, because I'm in small groups. I did Leadership Bay this year, which is a course that you go through the whole year with a bunch of other business owners. Now I'm on the steering committee. So I just can't stress that enough, that human interaction, building bonds. And I will say that most of my clients become very good friends. They're not just clients. So I love that.
I think that's great. Building that community set, that's so important. Karen,
Yes.
if you're open to this, would you jump into the rapid fire round with me? I'm gonna come at you with a couple of random questions and put you on the spot with some fun stuff.
Okay. Yes. They're washing the window right now. Okay. But yes, let's do it.
Hey, no worry. Let them clean the window. That's the local business that you're supporting, right?
I know it is.
Karen, what would you say? Like, is there a certain mantra that you live to in your life?
Man trap. Like, give me an example.
So Me, for example, my mantra would be, and Julian, our podcast producer, will love this. It's nada seguro, pero todo es posible. Nothing is certain, but anything is possible. Anything
Oh
is anything for you when it
gosh.
comes to either education or just any kind of thing that when you're looking to go a direction in your life or move forward or do anything, is there a certain mantra that you like to live by?
I guess it would be just never give up. Don't let people tell you yes or no or what your path's going to be. Like if that's your dream, that's what you got your heart set on, don't give up on it. No matter how many naysayers you have. I always think back to the Dr. Seuss, how many no's he got before he signed the contract. I would have
Yeah.
definitely given up long before then. So that's it. Just that, did I get the flight job my first interview? No. What I went home and did was study my butt off. And, because we had a really hard test, a really hard interview, and a really hard scenario. And, I came back and knocked it out of the park. Anybody else would have probably been like, oh, I tried. That's not for me. And I was like, oh, no, I'm going to get this. So just to have that stamina, and if your heart's set on it, never give up, no matter what obstacles you hit and what people tell you, no, or doubt you. Use that as fuel.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And, I've just to parlay on that as well, I think the world that we live in, that's becoming more of an asset. Like you're one of the headlines for the show today was that grit, that perseverance, that determination, never give up. And whether it's growing the business or even if a patient says no, right? Like, oh, okay, cool. No, well, goodbye. I'll never see you again. It's like, I wonder why they weren't ready right now. Right? Again, this is me just talking out loud and thinking out loud for some of the challenges that we see with other practices. It's that never give up. How can we help? I think that one of the biggest messages from the show today is you've got the servant leadership, extending yourself in the community, helping charities, providing those gift certificates, making those connections that most of the time they come back around because
They do.
they're
You're
genuine.
right.
Yeah.
I always tell them it may not be that day when I make the connection that they make an appointment, but they always will keep me in the back of their mind. And it may be a month, it may be 6 months, but they'll be like, hey, Karen, I remember you said, or refer me to someone. Yeah, never underestimate the connections.
See, how about Karen? Is there anything on the kind of nerdy side with like tools or any sort of business tools or systems or softwares that you've loved since you opened the business? Anything that's kind of indispensable to you right now?
So I have the luck of having a really smart, geeky cousin, and he's in his 30s. He does cybersecurity, and he saw some of the things I was going through as a business owner. He actually helped me with my website when we got started, and he actually built this platform to. I think it's kind of like what you guys do. It helps me with the replying to the reviews and sends out emails, and I can even, answer the phone with it. It's been amazing. So he kind of keeps me up to date because, I'm a Gen X. So I'm not like that tech
That's great.
savvy, but he
Love it.
helps me, and I kind of tell him what I need, and he kind of builds it. So I love that. And, I do like to dig around. Gosh, I could spend just hours reading books and digging on stuff. I think the biggest thing is, of course, the industry. I feel like I never know enough. So I'm always digging. But then the business side so fascinates me that I'm literally thinking about going back and getting like a degree in management or something, business management. But so it's like so many things that I'm, trying to dig in and learn more. I just don't have enough time.
Yeah, I know that the industry moves along quick, and that's definitely a handy cousin to have. One thing that we discussed through the show is you're a lifelong learner, and I just wonder, is there any particular events or conferences that you really love to go to?
So we all took a trip to Am Spa this year as a team. So I love that. That's kind of on a huge level. I feel like so disappointed because I can't go to every class. So it's almost overwhelming. Sometimes we have some more local things, and just like going to Med Spa Militia with Marley, I just try to always dive in there, anything that I can find that's close. So, just always trying to stay educated and try to stay out there on the forefront of everything that's going on med spa wise.
Beautiful, beautiful. How about when you think about the future of aesthetics, or how the industry is evolving. In a sentence or two, how would you describe that?
Oh gosh, it is crazy. It took off, 2020 thanks to COVID, which is kind of cool
Mm,
because, it was such a sad time at my flight nurse job. It was very sad and very demanding. And so the one positive thing that came out of it is the growth in aesthetics. And I just love the confidence that women gain by doing it. I do have some naysayers that feel like it's all about being vain and that sort of thing, but I'm like, no, it's about the confidence that people get back. And with confidence, women are better to take a chance, to set a higher goal, to step out of their comfort zone. And then, of course, everybody around them benefits when they're confident and feel good about themselves. So that's what I love about it. It's just exploding. I would love to go to that conference they have over in Europe just to see what's on the forefront because, they are always ahead of us. But it's exciting. I feel like some guidelines are going to have to probably be put in place soon because it's just exploding. I swear 10 med spas opens up in our area every day. And but it's so exciting because I can't wait to offer women more things that are less invasive and don't take the downtime and the money that surgery takes, and to give them confidence and their life back without, breaking the bank.
Fantastic. How about what's next for you with Elysian MedSpa?
So we are opening a new location near the airport, the north end of our county, which is right outside of a booming area called Margaritaville. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it
Indeed.
actually has predictions to be bigger than the villages in mid-Florida when it's all said and done. So there's nothing up there right now. So we are in the process of building a new spa there. And
Congratulations. That's awesome.
thank you. And we've been asked to open up a small med spa in a condominium, one of the OG condominiums over on 30A. And so that's in the works. And then possibly moving a little to the east in Port St. Joe. Hopefully open a med spa up there the next year or two.
That is fantastic. Talk about rapid growth. Absolutely love it. You're taking over and dominating, Karen. That's
Yeah, I
fantastic.
guess. My daughter works for me now. She's actually in nursing school. And my son actually followed my footsteps and went into emergency medicine. He's a firefighter. And we actually have a nonprofit. I couldn't leave my EMS boys behind. We have a nonprofit called 850 Heroes for Heroes. And every September 11th, we do a 9/11 memorial stair climb. So people come from all over the United States to Panama City Beach, and we climb 110 stories for all the fallen first responders from 9/11 tragedy. And we all carry one of their names, a badge with their name and their story on it. So
Oh, that's
come on
awesome.
down and do the
Thanks
stair
for sharing
climb.
that. Definitely, definitely. That's incredible. How many years have you been doing that for?
We actually, so another gentleman that I worked with for many years did it. And so this will only be our second year that we
Yeah.
took it over. And so I'm super excited about it. It really it's pretty interesting because my brother-in-law, my ex-brother-in-law, actually, he's in his 30s, and my kids all wanted to start this nonprofit to keep that alive. And I love it because I'm like, wow, these younger kids, they probably don't even remember 9/11, but I love that they want to keep that alive, keep the memory of the first responders alive. And a lot of the firefighters wear their bunker gear just as the firefighters did that day. And several of them carry a hose that's about 100 pounds with every firefighter that passed that day, their name written on it. So it's pretty
Wow.
monumental. It'll definitely tear jerk, and it's really a fun time for us. Very somber time, but we never want to let that our brothers down. So we always say we complete their climb.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. And thanks for sharing that. And kudos to everybody involved there as well. And also for the family aspect and the community aspect to what you're doing there as well. Karen, how about if anybody who's listening to the show here or reading the post on the episode, what would be the best way for them to connect with you or to get to know more about what you're doing from the business and also the charitable standpoint?
So our website would probably be a good start, and it's Elysian PCB, as in Panama City Beach. .com. And then also, if they want to come do the stair climb, it is 850 Heroes for Heroes, or I'm sorry, it's H for the number 4hpcb.com.
Awesome. And we'll include those in the show notes, and we'll also be able to include your Instagram handle as well if anybody wants to connect with you there and see the beautiful Instagram profile that you have there also.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. Instagram, Facebook. I get a lot of Facebook. I have a really close friend who we grew up with. I call her my influencer. She actually had a lipstick line, and so we call her Lipstick Diva. So she comes to the spa and we go live all the time, and she is hysterical, crazy nut. And so we have a great time going live about once a month.
Excellent. So hey, anybody, if you're listening, stay tuned to that. We got Lipstick Diva on Karen's Instagram reels there as well. So Karen, thanks so much. It's been incredible to get to spend the time with you here today, and for myself and our audience to get to learn more about your story, the goal setting, the grit, the determination that not only got you here, but I think what's really exciting is you just painted the picture as to also where you're going as well with the expansion, helping more people in your communities, increasing employment in the area, new platforms for your family as they're going into careers. I think everything you're doing is absolutely incredible. So thanks for sharing that.
Well, thank you for having me. And hey, I have a question for you. Where in the world are you going this next year?
Yes. So we just officially announced it yesterday, and my
Yeah.
family and I, are actually, we're doing a year traveling. So we're going to be going to Uruguay for 3 months. We're going to be staying in Spain for 3 months, and then Montenegro in Europe for 3 months. And I'll also be visiting my family back in Ireland on the way. The goal really is for us as a family to have an adventure together, a journey when the kids are still technically kids, because the oldest is 12, soon to be 13. And also along the way, we found, before we had kids, Karen, my wife and I, we backpacked around India and South America for a year.
Wow.
And we had an amazing growth journey together, but we were able to do volunteer work and help and contribute and bring back a lot of meaning and just growth as part of that journey. And we're hoping that it's going to be an opportunity for us to do something similar with our kids who are used to living in a world where, there's everything, there's food in the cupboards, there's medical care available, there's, they have screens they can play games on. So we're basically going to shake it up a little bit and, have a growth journey as a family.
Man, I think that's amazing. And honestly, I don't blame you at all for doing that. I was just talking to a client yesterday about how, the sports have taken on a new life of their own, and they expect kids to practice 7 days a week, and they don't get to build memories and have those adventures as a family. That's exactly what I talked about. So I think that is amazing. Kick normacy to the curb, because you're going to teach them grit and lessons that they can't get living this United States, American dream of being being lazy and a sloth. We get kind of lazy and complacent, and that's going to give them some great life lessons. So I'm excited for you, because you have this small window of opportunity with those kids to really build those memories, and then before you know it, in a few years, you're going to be an idiot. They're not going to hang out with you anymore. So you're taking a great opportunity.
I can see the writing on the wall there already, where we're becoming like they're, we're not cool enough for them. So it'll be a fun trip, like you said, for sure. And they do love the sports, and you're right with being in school and sports here, it's become 6-7 days a week travel. It's a crazy, you described it with you working through, ERs and, emergency medical. It's crazy. And even for us it's not near crazy as that, but both working parents, it's just really busy with kids. And so sports are important. So we're actually going to do sports while we travel. There's sports centers, and the kids will play sports, and I'll still play, and obviously I'll work remotely. But it's going to be different. There's a bigger world out there than they're really sort of like truly conscious of, and we want to explore it a bit. And I think with that comes, I've always just felt extremely grateful for everything that I have, especially in countries that per capita don't have as much over here. So that's going to be really good.
They'll get to see that they are very fortunate. So I'm excited for you. I think that's amazing. That's the other thing that I would have done if my kids were younger during COVID. I would have just said, let's go. We're not going back to school. We're going to go travel.
Hey, it's Brett here with ClinicGrower, and I've got a quick favor to ask. If you're loving the Aesthetics Growth podcast, go ahead and hit that like or hit that subscribe, more importantly, so that we can keep bringing you the best of the industry. I really want this to be impactful and the highest quality, and the best way that you can help us to do that is to hit that like, hit that subscribe. And remember, if you would like to be a guest on the Aesthetics Growth podcast, go to clinicgrower.com/podcast.
This is the Aesthetics Growth Podcast.